Film classics are always something that we love to see. We always are looking at films in different ways, so we always like to be inspired or maybe want to feel a sense of nostalgia based on films that we have seen before that have been modernized and put into the new world. And that's no different when we are talking about the sort of reimagining of a classic, and that classic being Snow White. Now, before I continue, there are two things that I want to share here. First off, I would like to say that now we are officially at 150 subscribers. I believe 151. I don't know if the algorithm changed anything, but at 150, I know for a fact we are at 150 subscribers now on this channel, and I could not be happier. And I want to thank every single one of you who are following me at this point right now. I am very, very, very happy to have all of you here and engaged and, talking about the movies that I talk about, or the TV shows that I talk about, or the games that I talk about. I absolutely love that. So thank you so much for being a part of the Movie Savant community. I cannot wait to see more of you join. Let's set a goal. Let's go for like 500 subscribers. I know it's not a big goal, but let's go for 500 subscribers, because I would be very, very, very excited to see 500 people, following along on this journey of ours here. And the second part that I want to cover here is that this thoughts video will contain some spoilers, but considering that this is an older film that has been reimagined and that the story are kind of similar, I don't really know if there is anything to spoil. Plus, this movie is now out on Disney Plus, so if you want to go see it, now's your chance, and you'd be more than welcome to see it. So I will be covering spoilers. No need for a spoiler warning anywhere on top, but just wanted to let you guys know that is the case. Unlike my other thoughts videos, I want to start off with the good and then lead into what did not work as much for me in this film. So let's start off with the good. I think this movie's visual effects are fantastic. Fantastic. They literally are incredibly made, very well detailed. The creatures are super cute and honestly just makes what this movie is supposed to be in this sort of like magical sense. It just exists. That sense of magic truly does exist in this film, and I absolutely love that. I love that they are able to replicate this sort of magical essence that Snow White is supposed to have with the visual effects. And another thing that I also liked, apart from that, is also their ability to get the Seven Dwarfs right. I really like that they were able to get the Seven Dwarfs to feel like the Seven Dwarfs that we all know and love. Grumpy is grumpy, dopey is dopey, sneezy is sneezy, the entire crew as a whole, the Seven Dwarfs as a whole, are great. They are great. They're funny. They really truly embody the spirit of the original film's, characters, and I think that is a goal that was set maybe before the filming of this movie, and they were able to succeed in the long run, even though they happen to be CG characters, which we'll get into a little bit later down the line. But nonetheless, those Seven Dwarves were great. Now, musically speaking, we do have our iconic hits that we normally see. We get Hi Ho, with, the Seven Dwarfs as well. I really do think that, the modernization of the songs that we all know and love for this film worked very well. And I think that was, a highlight of this film. Like the small moments that we remember from the original Snow White that were in this film as well worked very well in the specific scenario. And we have to give it up for our lead. Rachel Zegler was fantastic as Snow White. I understand where people's hesitations are when it comes to Rachel, but I think that for this role, for this specific situation, she fit really well. Again, I will cover what I'm talking about further down the line. But nonetheless, I think that she covered this film very well. I think Gal Gadot did a really great job as well as the Wicked Witch. I know that a lot of people don't feel like Gal Gadot is the strongest of actresses to play a role like this. I get it. I truly do understand where you're coming from. But I feel like for this specific scenario, she did pretty well. And I think that there's nothing too offbeat by her playing the Wicked Witch. So, I would have to say she did a pretty good job. She didn't fascinate me, but she did a pretty good job. So for the good part, I feel like I covered mainly the things that stood out to me, the things that I actually quite liked of the film. But now let's talk about a little bit of the things that I didn't quite like of this movie. And I would like to start off by going straight into something that is kind of misleading. And believe it or not, it's the title. I know what you're saying. Marcelo, what are you talking about? What do you mean the title is misleading? Yes, the title of this movie is Snow White. The movie is about Snow White. The story itself has Snow White in it, and it has all the beats from the original Snow White film. Correct. Those are correct. The thing is that I went into this movie thinking like, oh, this movie is going to be sort of like the original. You're probably going to have like 2 or 3 moments where there's some sort of music involved, and that's about it. Unfortunately, that's not the case. This movie is a musical. Pretty much from beginning to end, it's a musical. And it has several songs that were not in the original film, not in the original making of the movie. Honestly, just not really what we needed for this movie. Adding songs to this film just doesn't add anything to it. As a matter of fact, I do believe that in part, if Disney were to have done the right thing and changed the title of this movie from Snow White to Snow White the Musical, I think 2 things would have happened. 1, people would have outright understood that this movie is a musical and it's not like the official Snow White. And I do believe that the score of this film would have been a little bit higher when it comes to reviews and stuff. And secondly, Rachel Zegler would have not been even in the conversation of if she is the right person for the role. As a matter of fact, I think personally, Rachel Zegler actually is kind of the fix to Disney's problem. What I mean is, Rachel Zegler is not the problem. She was the solution to a problem that Disney created. And the problem was they decided to make this mainly a musical. And unfortunately, the Frozen formula works for Frozen, but not for Snow White. And I get that they were like, okay, we have a very powerful performer that we can get to do this movie. Let's make some songs and we will just add that onto the film. Not quite. And I feel like I have to draw the parallels between this movie, and I know what you're gonna say, Marcelo, that's way off. But no. Like, just hear me out for a second. It kind of reminds me of Joker 2. Folia Do. If you know what I'm saying. Folia Do could have been a great film if it weren't for just the abundance of musical numbers. It's really frustrating to me, for me to like process that information. Like, why did they have to force the musical aspect of this movie? Because honestly, it just didn't need to be there. And if they were to have changed the title, not only would the movie have a better score, but people would justify the use of Rachel Zegler in this role. Other than that, I think that they kind of failed in that aspect. And that's to say that, Rachel Zegler was technically the only option that they could have technically picked up on, who is a very strong performer, a strong musical performer, to play this role. So, honestly, like, I made a video a while back. I think maybe you guys saw the video where I talk about the Rachel Zegler problem, which was like people were criticizing her, that she criticized a bunch of things and blah, 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 and, you know, the whole story. If you guys want to see that video, go over and watch, because there I actually get into some details. But I do have to say that it didn't have to be overblown. People overblew this whole thing out of proportion, where, oh, they're just picking a character, picking someone who doesn't look like Snow White, who doesn't do this, and that they changed the story, and that they did this. Listen, for this musical, this Snow White the musical, which I should be calling that from now on, for Snow White the musical, it works. It works, and it works really well. Now, if the idea was to put someone in here to fit the role of Snow White, had no singing, no other thing, maybe you could have gotten away with another actress. Not a better actress, but another actress. Another actress who's actually, you know, would be more into that other side of Snow White. But nonetheless, Rachel Zegler, again, not the problem of this movie. She was the solution to Disney's problem. And ultimately, I feel like that's kind of where the stench came from. Not her, but the whole creation of this movie. Now, honestly, I think I have to like go back and kind of like reflect a little bit with you guys for a second. Because everything I heard about this movie was that this movie was going to be terrible, that it wasn't going to be great, and that it wasn't going to be, you know, as magical, and that because they were putting someone who doesn't look like Snow White was going to be bad and stuff. Okay, here's the thing. And this is where I go back to the person who criticizes films a whole lot more than I do, and that's my dad. And he heard the same things as I did, that this movie was bad, is that it was going to be terrible, that people are not going to like, that he wasn't going to like it, and that it wasn't going to be worth it, and blah, 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 blah. Sure, we heard all of it. Fine. He finished watching this movie, and his reaction to this film was pretty much the same as when he saw The Little Mermaid with Halle Bailey. He liked both. Which is like, for the person who I know like best, that criticizes films way more than I do, he liked both. Which is like kind of mind-blowing to some people, but it's like, honestly, like, if you are gonna criticize a film, go and watch the film. And as a matter of fact, if you are gonna base all of this on the actual score that you see on Rotten Tomato, because honestly, the score on Rotten Tomato isn't all that great. Yeah, it's not that great. I mean, the audience score is pretty good, I'm not gonna lie, but the critic score is a little tougher to swallow. But nonetheless, it's not bad, you know, for audiences, but for critics, it's kind of hard to see. And I mean, all in all, it just comes to prove that this film, as a whole, is really good. It's a really good film. It has great moments, has good musical numbers, although I wish there were less music, less of it being musical. Otherwise, I would like it if Disney had changed the title to Snow White the Musical, which would have made this movie work a lot more for people, rather than just saying it's Snow White and then give them a bunch of musical numbers with songs that weren't in the original film. But nonetheless, I digress. And if we had gotten to the point where people, you know, were truly excited for this film, that's something that we have to also take into consideration. They're bringing back Snow White into the modern era. The question becomes, who is actually interested in seeing Snow White? That becomes a question in and of itself. Who's actually interested in a Snow White film? I feel like if you're going to create a film, specifically nowadays, you need to have a diverse set of people who are going to be able to say, okay, this movie would work, this movie wouldn't work, audiences would be excited for this, but not for this, and have that conversation with studios. And ultimately, I feel like that's the problem now, is that they're making movies without asking the audience, hey, what would you guys think about a Snow White film? And ultimately, when the movie tanks, because unfortunately Snow White's success wasn't quite successful, as you can see here, ultimately it comes down to the fact that there was not enough test screenings and not enough people to say like, hey, this was a good movie, hey, this was a bad movie. But then again, we're talking about Disney, and Disney makes a whole lot more money than we care to even think about. So I don't know, maybe they just took the loss as a good thing. I don't know. It's complicated. But all in all, I want to say this movie was not bad at all. And as a matter of fact, I would recommend you go and watch it. I would go even further. If you have kids, put them in front of a TV and have them watch it. They are going to enjoy it. They're going to have fun with it. The songs are good. The moments that are magical. Seeing, Gal Gadot transform into like this, the old hag. That's really cool too. I mean, those moments work. Those moments actually do work in the context of Snow White. Again, it's those two big factors, the musical aspect and how excited would audiences be to see this film. Now, like I said before, and like I said way before this movie even came out, I was wishing for all the success of this movie from the beginning. Unfortunately, it did not resonate with audiences. And that's part of the game, part of the cinematic world. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But hey, now audiences get to see it at home and enjoy it from the comfort of their own couch. So I feel like that's kind of a win in and of itself. But now I want to hear it from you. What do you guys think? Did you like Snow White? Did you not like Snow White? Was Snow White on your radar even at all? Like, was it even like a topic of discussion in your family or with your friends? I want to know. I want to hear from you down in the comments, because honestly, like, I did not hate this film at all. Actually quite enjoyed this film. Just again, those two aspects that we talked about. But that's how it is. It's a win and lose situation. And I want to hear from you as well. Is it a movie that was necessary right now? Like, is it something that resonated with you? Is it a movie that was kind of in need of a sort of reboot in a way? Do you think that that's part of the whole thing? I don't know. I want to hear from you. I like to hear exactly from what you guys think. And while you're down in the comments writing to me what you think, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos go live on this channel. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. And I'll see you in the next video.
Scrolling through YouTube, same old routine, then bam, movie savant, what a scene. Trivia bombshells dropping knowledge like rain. Forget the dishes, gotta watch it again. Movie buffs unite, savants to place. Subscribe and hit the bell, don't leave a trace. Next level knowledge keeps you in the loop. Savants got the scoop, ain't nothing to recoup.